The grand wedding hall sparkled like a dream. Golden lights hung from the high ceiling, and fresh flowers filled the air with sweet fragrance. Laughter echoed through the large space, and guests chatted while soft music played in the background. In the middle of the hall stood Ryan, the groom, dressed in a royal blue sherwani, holding a bouquet of white roses. His eyes were fixed on the entrance. Everyone was waiting for the bride. Time passed. First 5 minutes, then 10. The music kept playing, but now it sounded too loud, almost mocking. The smiles on guests' faces slowly faded. Whispers started. Why is she late? Is everything okay? Maybe it's a surprise. Ryan's smile also began to fade. He looked toward his best friend, who gave a weak, unsure smile back. The wedding planner came rushing towards Ryan, her phone in hand. I'm so sorry, Ryan, she said softly. She's not coming. The bouquet slipped from Ryan's hand and hit the floor. Silence fell in the hall. People gasped, phones buzzed. A few guests quietly picked up their things and started to leave. Ryan didn't move. His heart was beating fast, but his body felt frozen. He couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. Just this morning, she had smiled at him during breakfast. But was that a real smile? Suddenly, everything made sense. The cold looks, the quiet replies, her distance in the last few days. Ryan had ignored it, thinking it was wedding stress, but now it was clear. She had doubts. And now she was gone. Ryan stepped down from the stage and walked outside. The cool night wind touched his face, but he felt nothing. The city lights blurred in his eyes as tears slowly rolled down his cheeks. He walked and walked with no destination, his heart crushed under the weight of shame and heartbreak. After an hour of walking, he reached a small roadside tea shop. It was quiet, with only a few people sitting on plastic chairs sipping tea. He sat down at an empty table, not caring about his fancy clothes now covered in dust. His world had broken in front of hundreds of people. A young waitress came to his table. She had kind eyes and wore a simple dress. Her name tag said Haya. Water? She asked gently. He nodded. She placed a glass of water in front of him. Her eyes noticed his tear-stained face, the flowers on his sherwani now slightly torn. She didn't ask questions. She didn't judge. She just stood there, quiet and calm. Ryan looked up at her. Her face wasn't painted with makeup. She wasn't wearing jewels, but there was something about her. Peace, maybe, or truth. He couldn't tell. You okay? She finally asked softly. Ryan laughed, a sad, broken laugh. No, he replied. I was supposed to get married today. Haya's eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. She simply sat down across from him, listening. She left me, he continued, his voice shaky. Didn't even say goodbye, just a message. Haya looked at him, not with pity, but with understanding. I guess she did what she had to, she said. Maybe she saved you from something worse. Ryan blinked. No one had said that to him. Everyone else looked at him with shame or sympathy. But Haya, this stranger, was different. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the noise of the traffic passing behind them. Ryan's thoughts raced. His whole life had changed in one evening. The hall, the guests, the music. Gone. Only this moment remained. Only Haya. Then suddenly something inside him shifted. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was pain. Or maybe it was the strange calm in Haya's eyes. He didn't know. He looked at her and said the words without thinking. Will you marry me? Right now? Haya's eyes widened. She stared at him, unsure. If he was serious, Ryan didn't blink. His voice was calm. I know it sounds crazy, but nothing in my life has made sense today, except you, sitting here, listening. She didn't reply immediately. The tea shop lights flickered above them. Somewhere in the distance, a wedding band played, reminding him of what he had lost. But in that quiet moment, with broken dreams behind him and a strange question between them, the night suddenly felt alive again. Haya blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Marry you? She repeated slowly. Ryan nodded, his face serious. Yes, right now. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The noise of the city faded around them. The clink of teacups, the hum of cars, the distant laughter, all of it seemed to disappear. It was just him and her, two strangers under a flickering streetlight. Haya looked into his eyes. She saw pain, confusion, but also honesty. This wasn't a joke. He wasn't trying to run from heartbreak. He was trying to find something real, something he thought he had lost. "You don't even know me," she said finally. Ryan smiled, a tired, broken smile. "You didn't ask me questions. You didn't give me fake sympathy. You just sat and listened. That's more than most people have done in my whole life." Haya looked away for a second. She wasn't used to this kind of talk. She poured tea for a living, took care of her little brother at night, and studied whenever she found time. Her life was simple, quiet. Nothing like this man in a fancy sherwani asking for a wedding at midnight. She looked at him again. "You're serious?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, I don't have a family waiting at home. No one will ask me why I made this choice. I'm just done with waiting for the perfect life. I want something real now, even if it starts strange." Haya took a deep breath. Her heart was beating fast. This was madness. But something inside her whispered that maybe madness was better than the silence she lived with every day. "I live nearby," she said. "My uncle is a priest. If you're really sure, we can go there." Ryan stood up. "I'm sure." They walked together silently down narrow lanes lit by yellow street lamps. Stray dogs barked in the distance, and a soft wind blew fallen leaves across the ground. Ryan noticed how calmly she walked beside him. Not afraid, not rushing, just steady. After 10 minutes, they reached a small, old house with a wooden door. Haya knocked gently. An old man opened it, rubbing his eyes in surprise. "Uncle," she said quietly, "this is Ryan. He wants to marry me, tonight." The old man looked at them both, then nodded slowly. He didn't ask many questions. He simply opened the door wider and let them in. In a small prayer room, he prepared everything. Ryan and Haya sat side by side. They said their vows simply, without music or decoration. There were no guests, no cameras, no stage. Just two people trying to make sense of life. When it was done, Haya looked at him and said, "So, what now?" Ryan looked around the quiet room, then back at her. "I don't know," he replied. "But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm breathing." She smiled, just a little. "Then let's start there." They stepped out into the cool night again, married, strangers, but not alone. As they walked back toward the tea shop, where it had all begun, neither of them noticed the small group of people watching from across the street. One of them holding a phone, camera still recording. Some stories refused to stay quiet, and theirs had just begun. By morning, their story was everywhere. A blurry video had gone viral overnight. A heartbroken groom proposes to a tea shop waitress minutes after being left at the altar. The clip showed Rayhan's tear-streaked face, the moment. He asked, "Will you marry me?" And the two walking away under the streetlights. Social media exploded. Midnight marriage. From tears to tea, real love or rebound? Some called it romantic. Others called it madness. Back at the tea shop, Haya stirred sugar into her first cup of chai, unaware that the world had begun watching. Her little brother Sammy ran in with his school bag, wide-eyed. "Haya, you're on the internet. Everyone's talking about you." She looked up, confused. "What?" He held out a phone. There it was, her face, her name, comments pouring in. Some kind. Many not. She sat down, her hand shaking slightly. Ryan arrived moments later, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans now. He had spent the night in a nearby guest house, not wanting to make things awkward at her place. When he saw her face, he knew. "You saw it?" She nodded. "We're everywhere." He sighed and sat down beside her. "I didn't expect this." "Me neither," she said softly. "People are saying things. Some good, but some very ugly." Ryan looked around. Even regular customers at the tea shop were staring now, whispering. The magic of last night had quickly turned into a spectacle, And then came the first real blow. A black car stopped in front of the tea shop. A man stepped out, tall, angry, well-dressed. It was Armin, Ryan's older cousin. A businessman, sharp-tongued, and proud. "So this is where you've fallen to?" Armand said, looking around with disgust. "A roadside chaiwala?" Ryan stood up. "She's my wife." "Wife?" Armand scoffed. "You embarrassed our entire family, Ryan. Do you know what people are saying? First the bride runs away, and now this circus." Ryan's jaw tightened. "I don't care about people." "You should," Armand snapped. "We gave you everything, education, business, name. And this is what you do? Throw it away for drama?" Haya stood quietly, listening. She had expected this. People rarely respected women like her. Poor, simple, without a last name anyone cared about. Ryan turned to her and spoke clearly. "You didn't ruin my life. You reminded me what truth looks like." Armand sneered. "Let's see how long that lasts." He walked away, leaving silence behind him. Later that evening, Ryan and Haya sat on the rooftop of her small house. The city lights twinkled below them. They sipped tea without speaking, both tired, both thinking. Finally, Haya asked, "Are you sure you want this?" "It's only going to get harder." Ryan looked at her. "I didn't marry you for peace, I married you for truth, and truth is never easy." She smiled faintly. "You talk like someone from a movie." He chuckled. "Maybe, but I mean it." Below them, people still gossiped. Cameras still followed. Trouble was coming, they both knew it. But so was something else, a bond, a story, and maybe, just maybe, love. The next few days were anything but quiet. Reporters began showing up outside the tea shop, sticking cameras in Haya's face, shouting questions like bullets. "Are you pregnant? Did you trap him for money? Is this a publicity stunt? Where's the proof this marriage is even real?" Haya kept her head down, pouring chai, washing cups, serving customers. But her hands had begun to shake. Her sleep was light. Her heart, once steady, now raced at every car that stopped in front of the shop. Ryan tried to shield her. He spoke to the media, asking them to stop. He posted online, defending her name. But the more he pushed back, the more attention they got. The world doesn't let go of a love story wrapped in scandal. At night, on the same rooftop, they sat, again their new routine. "We should leave the city," Haya said one evening, eyes staring into the skyline. Ryan looked at her. "And go where?" "Anywhere. A small town. A place where people don't know our names." Ryan paused. The idea of starting over was tempting, but it also felt like running. "I didn't marry you to hide," he said. "I married you because I wanted something real, and real things don't run away." She smiled sadly. "Then real things better know how to fight." But the fight wasn't just outside, it was also growing between them. One evening, a customer refused to be served by Haya. "She's famous now, isn't she? Too big to carry cups like the rest of us." Ryan lost his temper. He threw the man out, yelling louder than he ever had before. Afterward, he and Haya argued in the back room. "You can't do that," she snapped. "This is my life, my shop. I know how to deal with these people." "I was defending you," shouted. "I don't need a savior, Ryan. I need a partner." The silence that followed was long and heavy. "You still see me as a broken man in a wedding suit," he said quietly. "And maybe you're right. I still see you as someone." "Learning," she replied. "But learning means listening too." They sat in silence, both breathing hard, the noise of the street creeping in through the window. The fairy tale air had faded. This was life now. Messy, loud, real. And they were both still learning how to live it. One morning, a thick envelope arrived. Legal documents, a notice from Ryan's family. They were disowning him, cutting him off from every business, every inheritance, every property. Ryan read it once and said nothing. Haya waited. He folded the paper, set it down, and looked at her. "You still want to be here?" he asked. She didn't answer with words. She walked to the kitchen, poured 2 cups of chai, and brought one to him. "Drink," she said. You'll need the strength. They clinked cups. Maybe love wasn't about grand beginnings or sweet endings. Maybe it was about quiet choices in the middle of a storm. The cameras faded. The reporters left. The world moved on. After all, there was always another story waiting to trend. But in the small tea shop on the corner of the old market road, life was just beginning to settle. Ryan now worked alongside Haya. He took orders, wiped tables, made clumsy cups of tea, and often spilled sugar everywhere. The regulars laughed at him at first, but slowly they began to nod at him with respect, not because he used to wear a sherwani and drive a luxury car, but because he stayed. One day, Haya caught him struggling with a rusted gas stove in the back kitchen. "You really don't know how to fix anything, do you?" she teased. "No," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But I'm learning. One flame at a time." She chuckled and handed him a wrench. "Try again. This time, don't flood the kitchen." They were becoming something. Not just husband and wife, but teammates. Partners. Quietly, without promises or poetry, they were growing roots. But roots are never safe from storms. It came in the form of a letter. A thick white envelope addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Ryan Ahmed. Inside was a wedding invitation from her, Aisha, the runaway bride. She was getting married, in the same hall, with even more grandeur, to a businessman from Dubai. Haya stared at the gold-trimmed card and then looked at Ryan. He shrugged. "I don't care." "You're lying," she said. "Maybe a little," he admitted. "But not because I miss her. I just don't like the feeling of being replaced like a pair of old shoes." "You weren't replaced," Haya said gently. "You were set free." Ryan smiled, but something inside him was still heavy. Not with love, but with memory. That evening they sat on the rooftop again. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "What?" "This life, this madness." "Me." Ryan turned to her. No, not even for a second, she looked down. "Even with the chaos, the judgment?" "Especially because of it," he said. "Because now I know what matters. I don't want a perfect life, Haya. I want a true one." She nodded, eyes glistening. "Then let's build it, brick by brick, cup by cup." Later, that week, they painted a new signboard for the tea shop together. Chai and Change, easy after midnight. It wasn't just a shop anymore. It was their story, their ground zero. Customers began to return, not because of the headlines, but because of the warmth, the realness. People came for tea, but stayed for the feeling. One evening, a young couple walked in, shy, unsure, holding hands. They looked like they'd run away from something. Haya smiled at them and brought 2 cups without asking anything. Ryan watched and whispered, "Looks familiar, doesn't it?" Haya nodded. "Let's hope they find their own chai and change." And so, in a quiet corner of a loud world, 2 people who met in heartbreak built something stronger than a love story. They built a life. The monsoon arrived without warning. Dark clouds rolled in one afternoon, painting the sky a deep shade of gray. The wind turned sharp, scattering dust through the market lanes. Haya stood at the door of the tea shop, watching the sky, her hands covered in flour from making samosas. "We should close early," she said. Ryan peeked out from the storeroom. "What, afraid of a little rain?" "No," she replied, eyes still fixed on the sky. "But this one doesn't smell like rain. It smells like trouble." She was right. That night, lightning cracked open the sky. Thunder roared through the streets, and in the middle of it all, a loud boom echoed through the market. Ryan and Haya rushed outside. A fire had broken out, 2 shops down. Flames spread, quickly, leaping from rooftop to rooftop. People screamed. Water buckets were passed hand to hand. Someone called the fire department, but panic was faster than help. And then the wind turned. The flames leaned toward their tea shop. "No, no, no," Ryan muttered, grabbing a bucket and racing to the tap. Haya didn't move. She stared at the fire like it was something she had always expected. "This place, everything we built," she whispered. Ryan grabbed her hand. "We'll build it again if we have to. But not if you're hurt." The fire crawled closer, licking at the wooden signboard. "Chai and change." It caught. Ryan ran to it, tried to beat it down, coughing from the smoke. Haya pulled him back. "Leave." I can't," he shouted. "That's us." But it was too late. The sign collapsed in a small shower of sparks. The fire reached the edge of their kitchen. Then, just as suddenly, the rain came, hard and heavy, like the sky had opened. It poured for hours. By morning, the fire was out. Half the shop was blackened. The sign was gone. But the heart of the place, the little table near the window, the kettle, the stove, they had survived. The people came the next day, not just customers, but neighbors, even strangers. One brought wood, another brought paint, some brought bricks. No one asked for anything in return. "We remember what you did," one woman said. "When our homes were flooded last month, you made tea for free. You gave us blankets. Now it's our turn." Haya stood stunned. Ryan just smiled. "You see?" he said. "What we built didn't burn, it grew roots." Weeks later, the shop reopened. This time, the new sign was carved from stone. Chai and change, forged in fire, served with faith. The shop was stronger now, not just in walls, but in spirit. Ryan and Haya had changed too. They weren't the broken groom and the quiet waitress anymore. They were builders, survivors, dreamers with burn marks and brave hearts. On their first day back in business, a boy asked Ryan, "Is it true? You married her in 5 minutes?" Ryan laughed. "No, I married her in one look. The 5 minutes just made it official." Haya rolled her eyes and handed the boy a steaming cup of chai. Outside, the sky was clear again. And inside the little tea shop, something rare brewed. Not just tea, but love that had been tested, and still stayed. The tea shop, Chai and Change, now had more customers than chairs. A soft buzz filled the air every day. Chatter, laughter, spoons against glass. People said the tea had magic in it. Maybe it was just cardamom. Or maybe it was the peace that came from two people who had walked through fire and stayed standing. Ryan and Haya worked side by side. No titles, no show. Just shared glances, shared silence, and the kind of quiet bond that doesn't need explaining. But peace, like all things, is fragile. One October morning, a letter arrived again. This one wasn't gold-trimmed like a wedding card. It was thin, plain, and official. Ryan opened it, his eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Haya asked, drying a cup. "It's from Aisha," he said slowly. "She's filed a case, says our marriage isn't valid." Haya froze. "What?" "She claims I was still legally engaged to her when I married you, that I rushed into it for revenge, that it wasn't real." Haya felt the air leave the room. "But she left you, she didn't even show up." Ryan nodded. "Still, her father's a lawyer. They know how to twist the truth." The news hit the internet within hours. Runaway bride returns with legal fire. Ryan's midnight marriage faces court heat. Suddenly, reporters were back. Old customers stopped coming. New ones came just to stare. The warmth of the tea shop turned cold again. But this time, Haya didn't flinch. "We'll fight it," she said. Together. Court hearings began, papers, witnesses, arguments. The opposing lawyer painted a cruel picture of a rich boy who lost his pride and used a poor girl as an escape. They even brought in the original wedding planner to testify. How heartbroken Aisha had been after the cancellation. Ryan spoke calmly, truthfully. "I didn't marry Haya to heal. I married her because she listened when no one else did. She saw me when everyone else looked away." When it was Haya's turn to speak, the courtroom grew quiet. "I didn't know who he was when I met him," she said softly. "He was just a man with broken flowers in his hand. He didn't ask for love, he asked for honesty. And I gave him that. Aisha didn't appear in court even once, and that said more than anything else. After 3 long weeks, the judgment came. The marriage was ruled valid." Outside the courtroom, reporters shouted questions again, but this time, Ryan and Haya walked past them silently, fingers gently linked. They didn't owe anyone an explanation anymore. That evening, back at Chai and Change, the lights were soft, the smell of fresh pakoras filled the air, and the regulars returned, one by one. Small girl handed Haya a hand-drawn picture. It showed a man and woman holding cups under a sign that read, "Real love lives here." Haya smiled, her eyes stinging. Ryan came up beside her and whispered, "Still want to run away?" She shook her head. "No, I want to stay, right here, where the world ends and our little world begins." He kissed her forehead and turned to flip the sign on the door, open because that's what they were now. Not just open for business, but open to life, to whatever came next, and this time, they were ready.